Hi, and welcome back to Engine Shop Joe. And today we're going to see what happens when you click that bottom rectangle that says ECM PDD. And we'll look at those screens, and when we're done with this video, you will understand what everything on there is. So without further ado, let's take a look. If you're not a subscriber, please do. And tell your friends about the channel if this will help them. So to get here, we go over to the left and we click on calibration selection. On that toolbar on the left, each one of those things, think of it as a toggle on, toggle off, or a push button. Push it once, it's on, push it again, it's off. So we'll take our mouse over on calibration selection and left click it once, and then you'll see what we have on the right, sans that green rectangle. So you'll click on ECM PDD. Now you should be connected to the engine that you want to calibrate when you do this, because this is all about calibrating the ECM. So if you missed the earlier video to this one, we have already downloaded the update for this truck. The ECM code at the top is KW1083602. And we have downloaded KW10836.04 using the download wizard. If you don't know what that is, you need to go back and look at earlier videos. Now this screen opens and we have number 1 and number 2. Number 1 on the left, that panel shows you where on the computer calibrations that are valid are held. Now in that panel you can have a drive letter like C, D, E. You can have an SSD drive or a thumb drive or a USB stick, whatever you want to call it. And the computer I was using actually had a CD, DVD, ROM drive built in it. So I could put a disk in there that had a calibration on it and it would show up at F. Okay. Now, by default, when you save a calibration using the wizard, INSITE throws it into a place called the calibration workspace. That is the name of the folder that it's in. If you look to the right of calibration workspace up on the top left, you'll see in parentheses C:/intellect/INSITE, and then it says calibration workspace. So that's the path to that folder. I recommend you do not go to that folder unless you understand what you are doing, because if you change anything incorrectly there, INSITE's not going to calibrate anything for it. It's going to be messed up. So leave that alone. Now, you see number 3. Number 3, the green number 3, we are on the C drive. That's where the calibration is being found. And INSITE's on the C drive. That's where it loads. So we are looking in the calibration workspace folder. You see the minus in front of calibration workspace? Now that was a plus. If you look farther down where the mouse is, you can see the mouse arrow is on pluses. All of those were pluses when you first opened the screen, but I clicked the plus by calibration workspace, and then I saw June 2023 because that was the date at the time I made this. Then I clicked the plus in front of June 2023, and that opened up, and it tells me that I have automotive, industrial, high horsepower, and programmable data link device calibrations on or in that calibration workspace folder. Now, those are there because I downloaded the entire database from Cummins, which anybody can do if they know the link. You'll learn that in another video. And I installed it into INSITE. That's a whole procedure that you need to learn how to do. But that's why all those show up. And later on, you'll see that there's hundreds of codes in the ECM part number that we're going to look at because I downloaded that entire database. That may not make sense now, but it will in a few minutes. So I click the plus in front of June, and now because I'm working on an automotive engine, I'm going to click the plus in front of automotive, and then we'll see what happens in the next slide. Once I click that plus in front of automotive, all the engine ECM families show up that are automotive. They show up because I downloaded the entire database. If the only thing in my INSITE was the calibration that I downloaded, you would only see one ECM family here. Okay, so this is an exhaustive list of all the automotive calibrations that were available in 2023. Let's go to the next screenshot. Now I have scrolled down and I've clicked the plus in front of X15, CM2450, X124B, X134B. And this engine happens to be an X15 2450 134B. I'm not going to go into how I know that. That's another video. Okay? Now, I click the plus in front of that X15 CM2450, and I see two yellow tags show up. That yellow tag represents the ECM part number, not serial number, part number. So the X15 CM2450 engine 124 or X134B can have two different ECM part numbers, a 5462251 or 5572391. Okay? And they show you the numbers after the yellow tag. Now the next thing I have to do is I have to put my mouse on the numeral that represents the ECM that I have and left click it once, and let's see what happens in the next picture. Okay, I'm highlighting 5572391. If you look over at 5572391 by the yellow tag, that's the ECM part number on the left, you'll see there's a gray block around it. When you first highlight it, it turns blue, but there's a blue block around it, but once you come over on the right and highlight a calibration line and it turns blue, then that other block around the part number turns gray. It's just what it does. It doesn't mean anything. Now, if you look at the very top of the screen, the ECM has KW10836.02 in it, and I've highlighted KW10836.04. And that is the newest update. Now, I want you to take a look to the left of KW10836. Drop down a couple lines. Drop down to line 821. So you see there, the top line is 815. Drop down to 821. Next to that, you see an icon. And it looks like a piece of paper. It's got a green check on it. And on the bottom, there's a little gray block. The little gray block represents that it's an active calibration that could be put in an engine. The green check represents that it is a good supported calibration. At times, especially on old engines like say N14s or very, very early ISXs, all you'll see is that gray icon that looks like a sheet of paper with lines on it. And you won't see the green check or the little gray block underneath. That means that the calibration is historical information only. You can right-click it and choose properties from the pop-up box. It'll tell you about that calibration, but it is gone. So the calibration has to have a green circle with a check in it, and it has to have a little picture of a computer, a desktop computer, right under the check. And that's what that is. If that little computer is missing, that means you don't actually have the calibration physically on your hard drive, because if you download one calibration, the factory sends a list of every calibration that can go in that ECM part number along with it. But you'll only have a green check and hard drive on the actual calibration that you could put in the ECM. The rest are just references. If there's just a green check on it, it's an active calibration that you could download. If there's no check and no box, just like a sheet of paper with lines, it's a historical reference, and the calibration has been superseded to a new one, and you have to find that. That's a different video. So now you highlighted that. You can right-click it if you're connected to the truck. You can choose Transfer to ECM, and then, well, that's another video. Now, before we go, I told you that when you're choosing the calibration, you had to know the ECM part number. Remember the little yellow tags on the left and those numbers after it? Well, what if you don't know that part number? And what if you look on the ECM and the tag is gone, or it's all rusted, or someone stamped over it, or someone painted it and you can't read it? What you do, you're connected to the truck, you close the calibration selection, and you go up to number 1 over there, the green number 1, features and parameters. You click it and open them. And then you go to System ID and Data Plate up at the top. And then you go down to ECM information. Now, if all you see is a bunch of pluses and no other information, just go up to the word View, Expand All, or click the plus in front of the little red icon that you want to see the information under. Those, by the way, are called toolboxes. So if you couldn't see down by number 2 where it says ECM information, notice there's a little minus in that box. If you click that, it'll turn to a plus and you won't see anything underneath it. But to see the data, you click it so it's a minus like it is. And number 3 is the ECM part number. Look to the right. There's the part number. Write it down. Now, that does not match the part number that was in our video because this screenshot's from a different ECM. So don't worry about that. It'll be the right part number. You write that part number down, and you do not write down the serial number. It wants the part number, okay? That's where you find it. Once you get it, you just close Features and Parameters, and then you open up the calibration selection again, click the bottom rectangle, ECM PDD, go over, click the plus in front of Calibration Workspace, then the date, then Automotive if you're working on an automotive engine, then you scroll down to your ECM or engine family, click the plus in front of it, pick your ECM part number, and you're back to your calibrations. Thanks for joining me on Engine Shop Joe. We'll see you next time.